Alrighty, welcome back. This is Apollo the Sun 955, and today we have a matchup of Cyber Dragon Shaddolls, my little pride and joy, versus a branded Despia player. This is just going to be a duel between us. The purpose of this is to review the match, see if there was any misplays that we did, and if there's anything that we could do to potentially prevent that, and if there was any illegal moves that had happened during that time. So just getting started here, he is going first and activates Branded Opening. I won't comment too much, but I know that you are supposed to activate Branded Opening in either the draw phase or standby phase. Being turn 1, do it in standby phase. This plays around Veiler for the Aliber that you summon. I believe it can play around Droll as well, but that's kind of the main thing. So Aliber is summoned and it has a on summon effect, but Ghost Mourner is going to be discarded to negate the activation, or just the effects, sorry. Then activating Branded Fusion, he is going to fuse from his deck Fallen of Albaz and Despian Tragedy. This will give him the materials necessary for Lubellion, this Syrian Dragon, recently printed in the Fallen of Albaz structure deck. Lubellion Chainlink 1, Tragedy Chainlink 2, trying to just make sure that the fusion does get off and that he has necessary materials for future plays. Fusing the Fallen of Albaz from his hand with the Lubellion, summoning the Mirror Jade, the Ice Blade Dragon. I always get that mixed up. Activating the effect of the Ice Blade Dragon to banish the Aliber and sending Albion to the graveyard. Now, due to the effect of the Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill, he will be taking 1800 points of damage just because it has left the field in some capacity. So there is a little bit of miscommunication there. Setting Branded in red off of the Albion that was supposed to be in the end phase. We draw into regular Cyber Dragon for the turn. So there's a couple different routes that we can go. We can special the Cyber Dragon, summon the hers, link it off, make Verte. More than likely it would get banished, but at that point, so it's kind of a tough situation. We start with Harpy's Feather Duster. We want to force out the Branded in red. The reason for this is that if he has an interruption, I don't want to have any resources on the field for when that happens. Fusion summoning into the Masquerade, the Blazing Dragon, using Tragedy and the fuck is his name? Yep, we're going to go with that because I'm not even going to try it. Libitum. Tragedy resolving, adding Aliber. We special summon the Cyber Dragon. This is not a activation or anything. It is a non-chainable summon. Or effect, I should say. My bad. It is a chainable summon. But we special summon that. Normal summon the hers. Go for a link. And honestly, this was kind of a misplay. We go into the Verte because he has already used the Ice Blade Dragon on his turn to banish the Aliber. So we pay 2,000 to send a copy of Shaddoll Fusion. But we honestly should have just summoned Cyber Dragon, attack over the Masquerade. Because either way, it wasn't going to matter. We were still going to do the exact same play, sending Shaddoll Fusion, and we're going to send Genius and Hedgehog. So that will give us App Cologne. The intent of this was to negate the Masquerade and the Mirror Jade permanently, so that way they were semi-useless. Whoops. Oh no. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. So the reason that I say that we should have done that is because Cyber Dragon, attack over the Masquerade, great. We would still be at 8,000. Then, main phase 2, summon the hers, link off into Verte. Hers effect, add OG Cyber Dragon, since we didn't have anything else in our, graveyard. Then, With the Verte, pay 2,000, send Shaddoll Fusion because he still has the Ice Blade. Make App Cologne if we so chose. And then end our turn. Still would have done the same thing, and we would be up by, what is that, 2,400 life points? Nope, sorry, 3,000. We would have been up 3,000 life points. So just resolving the effect of Hedgehog, adding Squamata to our hand. Ending turn. He draws into the Super Polarization, which is very unfortunate. Goes, whoops, come on. Goes to Super Poly, and we didn't have enough cards in our hand to make it a worthwhile play. He had the Mirror Jade. So going into game 2, we side heavily into the Shaddoll part of the deck for the extra deck. Getting a second copy of Wenda in there was kind of an important key card. So we started off with Foolish Barrel, and we decide to send a copy of Wendy. Off of Wendy, like I kind of said in the deck profile, we typically try and summon Falco, as it's our usual number 1 card to go. But since we didn't have too much of a hand, we set the Hedgehog in the hopes that 2 monsters, being a Pop and a Search, can protect us for the turn, along with a Called by the Grave. So if he has Ash Blossom, then Hedgehog can still resolve. And should Squamata be sent to the graveyard by a card effect, we still have the Called by for that Ash again, so that way Squamata can resolve, and we can use the effect of a second Wendy to get another Hedgehog or Falco. This is technically a misplay that both of us, or illegal that both of us didn't notice. So he attacked into the Squamata. Damage calculation should have applied because flip effects apply after damage calculation. So he should have taken the 1,000 and then had Despian Comedy, be destroyed. Going to main phase 2, setting the Super Poly, Dimensional Fusion, and what was that? Branded in red. Having Gamma in hand, he's got a pretty good way to deal with our board, but he shotguns the Dimensional Fusion, which I don't think was correct. He should have waited until we activate something like Polarization, especially since we just drew it. Changing Squamata to attack mode because I would like to get in some damage just so that way Verte is a little bit lower on the life point effectiveness. Drawing into that Ash Blossom. See, now we said that earlier. My apologies. A little under the weather right now. Just trying to figure out what he's going to do here. Normal summoning the Albaz for no effect. I don't really think that was the greatest idea. I think his intent was just, if he can suicide into this, then Squamata doesn't get the effect, and if I think there's some risk to it. Had he discarded, let's say, the Gamma for the effect of Fallen of Albaz, fusing off the Squamata and Albaz, summoning Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, he then would have been able to Ash Blossom the Squamata. He did not know that I had Called by the Grave, and especially since it's a one-of, you can kind of play around it a little. Activating Branded in red, now we decide to activate Called by the Grave. This will banish his target because you have to target it in your graveyard. So if that gets banished, or you either Lancia, so that way Branded in red can't fully resolve, then it won't work, and it will, quote, fizzle, because that's always a fun phrase. Going into the battle phase, just choosing to attack into the set Hedgehog that he knew about, mind you. Ash Blossoming it, the Hedgehog will go down, so little unfortunate. Now going, still in the battle phase, fusing the Squamata with the Fallen of Albaz into a copy of Masquerade. This was illegal. Just flat out. Despia monster plus 1 light or dark monster. There was no Despia monster in sight. I can understand the confusion. I didn't notice it. He didn't notice it. And whether that was an intentional, summon or not, hard to say. But we kept playing. Squamata resolved after the summon, and so I had to pay 600 life points to activate that effect. Sending Wendy. Wendy will then get us a copy of, I believe it was Dragon. And now my thought process between Falco and Dragon is that with Dragon, he either has to force his turn to attack it and then leave himself on an open board, or he leaves it, I flip summon it, and then I can get additional bonus off of it. So making I would say the right play in attacking. I bounce it back, and we still have Polarization in our hand. Drawing Cyber Dragon Core for turn. We fucking love that. Normal summoning Cyber Dragon Core, searching for a copy of, I believe, Overflow. Yes, Cybernetic Overflow. That is just a follow-up, so that way we have 2 pops on our opponent's turn, so that way if they summon Aliber or any kind of Despia monster, then we can Cybernetic Overflow, deal with whatever they got. Chimera Tech Rampage will then send hers and Nashter, and that is game 2. OTK coming out of complete left field. Part of the reason that we love the Shaddoll aspect, we were able to control most of that match with the Shaddolls, keep our resources up, and then when we needed to strike, Cyber Dragons came in and, they hit hard. So, going into all-important Game 3, drawing into Core Dragon, Falco, Imperm, Dragon. That is really nice. He has Tragedy, Albaz, Comedy, Crossout, and Gamma. Not a great turn 1. Honestly, he probably could have set the Comedy. I don't think he really needed to keep it in hand. Excuse me. Normal summoning the Cyber Dragon, he goes for Cyframe Gear Gamma. I did not originally know this because I thought it was activation, but it is only effect, so you can only use 1 Cyber Dragon Core effect per turn, and only once that turn. I thought if it was under the effect of negation, so if the activation was negated, then you could do the secondary effect, but I was mistaken. So he summons the driver, and we still have quite a few plays. Fusing Falco and Dragon, we summon the Winda. This is the huge floodgate. So we're going to be able to do a couple things here. Falco will be able to bring itself back. Dragon will be able to pop the Crossout Designator. And even then, I don't think there's practically any cards in our decks that are the same that he can even use to, to banish. So normal summoning the Fallen of Albaz, discarding the Despian Tragedy to try and fuse off more than likely the Winda. We infinite impermanence that the fuck? Discard Sense of the Great. Yeah, no. He was not able to add Branded Fusion. There you go. Adding the add to his hand. Just deciding to attack into what he knew was Falco. I'm not too sure why he decided to attack into Falco. Maybe it's because we only had Dragon, but either way, I don't think that was the right play. I don't think that he should have attacked. There was no real need for it, but at the same time, it reduces my resource by 1. My recursion by 1. Apologies. Simple, just attack Cyber Dragon and then attack for 22 with Winda. He does have, drawing into Branded Fusion. He has the Aliber in his hand, so he can use that. Normal summoning the Aliber to then add a copy of Branded in Red. And I did not know this originally. You should not shotgun cards unless you know they're going to use it. Yes, it helps if you shotgun it in some situations, but you should not shotgun it. Like, use it as a reactive card. So, with Branded Fusion, summoning Titaniclad. Titaniclad gains 100 attack times the levels, and I cannot count. And so, I originally thought that he was at 38, but he is going to be at 4K. Titaniclad was summoned properly, and it's all good. So, just talking about how I can't count. Titaniclad is going to attack into the... Come on. Computer. There we go. Attacking into the Winda. Taking 18, and then activating still in the battle phase, branded in red. Targeting the Fallen Valbez in his graveyard. I decided to let this go through, but honestly I probably shouldn't have, because, yeah, Guardian Chimera, so it's very unfortunate because he's going to be able to deal with my board. He doesn't have any spell or trap cards, so it works, and he gets to draw too. I did not think about that. I had originally thought about the Masquerade. I thought that was the main thing, but I did not think about that. Just having a little bit of miscommunication and misunderstanding. He tried the Super Poly for a, I want to say it was the Lubellion, but realizes that he can't. Drawing into Shaddoll Fusion, very happy about that. And since he's got monsters, that Gamma is useless, essentially. And technically, we originally shouldn't have known that he had Super Poly. But at the same time, knowing that he does, after that, small misplay, sending Wendy and hers, Construct will be able to deal with most of his cards. Hers will then be able to get back a copy of Cyber Dragon Core from our deck or graveyard back to our hand, setting the Genius, just because we didn't really have any other monsters that we wanted to summon. We could have summoned Squamata, but just in case he had something like, another Chimera, I decided to set the Nest Shaddoll Genius for the fact that it can make one of my Shaddolls unaffected, or should I send it to the graveyard by a card effect, either by him or myself, then I can negate one of his monster's effects. So either way, that was kind of the thought process behind summoning Genius. So Ariel, and this was a misplay on my part. I did not know this originally, but in my recent watching of YouTube and seeing people's deck profiles, I did not know that Despia Tragedy could be activated when it's banished by my card effect as well, but which is kind of funny because I play Shaddolls. I should have known that. But I was also very lucky because people only play 4 to 5, sometimes even 6 Despia monsters, and so he will then activate the effect of the Despia Tragedy, go looking, and he did not have a target. Oh, excuse me. Normal summon the core. Core effect will then get us a copy of, I believe, Cybernetic Overflow, just because it is our best card for control. And what we decide to do is link those two off into not Verti, but into a copy of Cyber Dragon Seeker. Cyber Dragon Seeker will be able to deal with the Guardian Chimera, while the Construct can deal with the Titaniclad. And the only reason that we can deal with Chimera technically we could deal with Chimera with both of our monsters, but if he had Polarization in his graveyard, we would not be able to deal with it through the means of Construct. So I figured if there was some kind of miracle that he, can send Polarization from his hand to the graveyard, Twin Twisters, or by any means, then I figured it was better just to do that. Cyber Dragon Seeker's effect to give it 2100, making it so neither player takes battle damage involving that monster. Construct's effect at the start of damage step to destroy Titaniclad. Drawing into the Alibert, Jesus Christ. Decides not to summon it though. Normal summoning the Fallen of Albaz, discarding the Cyframe Gear Gamma. We then Lancia. Kind of difficult. This was also another illegal summon. Once again, if literally he had Super Poly, he had Alibur, he could have done one simple change and it would have been fine. So what he's going to do here is going to be activating, I believe, the effect of the Despian Quarteras. Prior to that, though, we're using Construct to add our Shaddoll Fusion back, just in case. Reducing the attack of Cyber Dragon Seeker to 0 means that Cyber Dragon Seeker cannot use its effect to boost itself by 21, and also make it so it can't protect itself. Flip summoning the Genius, we really didn't need to do that. Honestly, we probably could have just used Shaddoll Fusion and then flipped it. Cortez will then resolve its effect after we've banished. Never mind, he has no Despia monsters left. So that was pretty good. Go to battle phase, attack, and once again, this was kind of the instance where we should have used Shaddoll Fusion and kind of just went through our plays. Technically, we could have also activated Cybernetic Overflow in response to the Shaddoll Fusion, just so that way, technically, it would turn off our cards, but we had Lancia and Genius, and so if we had Genius face down, we wouldn't have used this effect, but, either way, we would have been able to summon a Construct, which would have been our last Construct, dealing 28 rather than 18, but, 1,000 point difference doesn't make too big of a change. Nor summoning the Aliber, he then goes searching for Branded in Red, and now this is where I'm glad that we didn't use that Shaddoll Fusion. Artifact Lancia on the activation of Branded in Red. He can't do it, so it fizzles, and then just suiciding. We're in a top deck war, and I set Squamata, and I didn't want to flip summon Squamata just because at this point in time it was a little bit too early, and so if he did end up getting a Branded Fusion or something, which I'm pretty sure he went through all of his copies, I think, because there's one Branded in Red there. Oh no, he still has probably two more, but he only has one more Branded in Red, more than likely. And so the idea was that Squamata would be able to pop anything, and same thing if it's sent to the grave or by opponent's card effect, then sending another Shaddoll card from deck to grave. So we just decided to go from there. Now that we have the Called by the Grave, we wanted to try and push. So Wendy, we let that resolve because we don't really care if Wendy stays on the field, and it's 1,500 points of damage. Like it wasn't going to make a huge deal. So sending the copy of Hedgehog to try and just maintain a little bit of field pressure and control rather than going aggro. Flip summoning the Hedgehog to search. He gammas us, which is very unfortunate. But he did not have the driver because he plays one driver and it is currently banished because he activated that at the beginning of the duel. So having the infinite impermanence will do essentially the same thing. Thankfully, though, it will not die. Flip summoning the Squamata, attacking for a total of 26. He's only at 1100. He does have the Super Poly, and both of our monsters go to the graveyard. Storm Venom Fusion Dragon is summoned, and now we've got our things. Now here I made a illegal play because I think I still had Schism. Yeah, I had Schism, and I should have had one more Shaddoll Fusion in the deck. So I should have sent Schism off of Squamata because I did declare the effect. So I am a cheating bastard, but that's whatever. Both very low now. Drawing into Cyber Dragon Court, we have the Shaddoll Fusion since he still has the Storm Venom Fusion Dragon. Nor summon the core, searching for Overflow, then going for the Shaddoll Fusion. We will then fuse the Squamata and our Cyber Dragon in deck for a copy of Construct. Construct will attack, and then the effect will happen in the damage step. And so I wasn't too sure why he didn't use the effect of this, because when an opponent's monster activates its effect when it's face up on the field, send this card from the hand or field to the graveyard, destroy that card. So he could have activated Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit in this instance. They both would have been destroyed. It wouldn't have really changed anything, but his thought process was that with Storm Venom Fusion Dragon being destroyed by card effect and just, destroyed in general, it will then destroy the construct as a repercussion. However, we do have face down the Called by the Grave, so just going through the motions, he activates Storm Venom Fusion Dragon. We call by just to make sure that we keep our construct, because that is probably the boss monster of the game right now. Setting the Overflow, we have Cyber Dragon Core, one Cyber Dragon in graveyard, and then that's all that we have. But we do have a core in graveyard too, so we do have plays. I should have, in hindsight, gone into Salamangreat Almirage just in case, like for instance the Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, protecting the construct. That would have been a better idea to go to. and then concedes because he draws the Branded Fusion. However, he only plays 2 copies of Fallen of Albaz, and they're both in his graveyard. And with no way to fusion summon, his only option was to either summon or set Snow Rabbit. And our next card, I think we see it. We'll see. I don't know if we do. No, we don't. But either way, even if he had set the monster of Ghost Ogre, Cybernetic Overflow, banish a Cyber Dragon in graveyard, and then destroying the Ghost Ogre on Snow Rabbit on his field, and hell, we could even banish our secondary Cyber Dragon core from the graveyard, so that way Branded Fusion, if he had set that as well as a bluff, then we would have dealt with the entire board, attacked for 28, giving us game. But that is the duel. I hope you enjoyed it. Just wanted to go over the misplays and illegal things that we did. Part of this is for not only myself, just because I am practicing for regionals this upcoming month, but also to give you guys a idea of, what were some things that we should have noticed, some things that we should have done with, the power of hindsight and even just foresight to think about it. But that is the game. Hope you enjoy. And as always, hope you enjoyed. Have a good day.